Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to Chocolate Covered Pages. I'm Kiona. Okay, so y'all know how in 2024 we was not feeling it. Like we was just not feeling it as a whole. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It felt like, you know, when you drunk and you not really yourself. Oh, that's bad. But 2024, like a lot of releases that came out in 2024 was just like, are you okay? They was not hitting. It was giving 3 stars and lower. But 2025 is not playing with us, and I am so excited for the rest of the year. There's even a bunch of releases that I didn't even get to. I'm only talking about the ones that I was even able to get to. So, and I'm already like, I don't even know what my favorites list is going to look like at the end of the year. I know it's going to be so hard for me because I've been loving these new releases. I have been absolutely loving a lot of them, and I can't wait to talk to y'all about it. So let's get straight into the video. Okay, so let's get the one out of the way that y'all know that I read because I did a reading vlog for it, and that is going to be Good Dirt by Wilkerson. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because y'all should have watched that reading vlog, okay? Real quick, this book is about a black family that is, they're doing pretty well in life, I would say. They have a really nice home in a pretty predominantly white area. They are the only black family that is living in this area, and they have a clay jar that is a family heirloom. This clay jar has been moving around through their family for many years since slavery time. It was constructed by a man named Moses who was a slave, and somehow it has made its way over to the Freeman family. Okay, so eventually people start to catch on and realize that this clay is a very sought after item. We have the mother and father, and then we have Abby, who's a little girl, and her older brother Baz. And one day tragedy strikes and Baz is killed because of this clay jar. That is pretty much the premise of this entire story. That seems to be something that Wilkerson is into when she's putting out her books. This is her second one, right? Her first one was Black Cake, which I loved. And in Black Cake, it was a black cake and a cassette tape. So she has this connection with writing about like items that are super important. You know, it's the same thing with this book. However, I will say that this one was a little disappointing for me. I felt like this book had a very good setup. Okay, it was set up for success. We know that Abby suffers this tragedy when she's a little girl, which is her brother dying, right? And then we see Abby again in her adult life. Something terrible happens to Abby again. I'm not going to say what it is, right? And when that thing happens, she decides that she's going to leave this area. She don't want nothing to do with it because when she was a kid, you know, she already know what it feels like when it's some scandal and drama around you. How people just continuously, you know, they're looking at you, they're talking about you. And she's like, you know, I don't even want to go through that again. I'm going to France. And she goes to France, but her problems seem to follow her there. And I will say that her problems following her there it's extremely convenient. I will say that, you know, but I was here for it. I was still here for it. I was like, really? Okay, cool. I'm gonna follow you anyway. However, the book just began to spiral into this constant situation between Abby and this guy. I didn't care about that. I did not care about that. I thought I was getting a lovely historical fiction, historical fiction, you know, some kind of multi-generational kind of saga type thing. That's what I thought I was getting. And it seemed like it wanted to go into that direction because we're getting information about Old Mo. We're getting information about Ebby's ancestors. And it kind of flips back and forth. And I really just wanted us to stay in the past, to be honest. And that is one thing that I have noticed about Charmaine Wilkerson's historical fiction, is that she writes the past much better than she writes the present time. I would love for her to write a strictly just historical fiction. Don't tell us nothing about the present time. Just stay over there. Just stay over there, because that's where she's shining, is over there. I wanted to know more about Moses. I was very interested in his story, and yeah, I was just loving it over there. And then, you know, then all of a sudden we just spent all this time in the present with Abby, and I was just like, and then Abby wasn't making the best decisions, and I was just getting annoyed with her, and I was just like, girl, you ain't even have to do that. She was doing things that I was just like, you really just did. Why did you do that? Like, yeah, she was grating on my nerve. I think I gave this 3.5 stars. The writing is still good. Okay, you can't take that away from Charmaine Wilkerson. The writing is still very good. And shout out to Penguin Random House for giving me this free copy. Another book that came out in January that I read is called The Scorpion Queen by Mina Fears. First of all, shout out to St. Martin's Press for the advanced listening copy for this. So I did do this one on audio. This is a YA fantasy novel. Which is, you know, switching gears here, okay? Because I realized that I've been slacking on my fantasy. I have been slacking on my fantasy. They are pitching this book as like a fairy tale. We meet a girl named Ami, and Ami lives in Timbuktu, which is the first book that I have read set in Timbuktu. Ami is the daughter of a very prominent, like a very high-ranking person in this society, we'll say. And she gets accused of doing something that she ain't do, okay? We'll just say that. I can't tell you what it was, but she gets accused of doing something that she didn't do. She know who did it. The person who did it know that it wasn't her who did it, and they like, no, it was Ami. Basically. So she's framed, okay? And her punishment is to now be pretty much like a lady's maid to the princess in the palace. And the emperor, right, the princess father, he is, you know, trying out these guys to potentially marry his daughter. So he's put together these trials, because the winner of these trials is the one who gets to marry the princess. But in doing these trials, all these boys been dying. They've been dying. They've been dying. The princess hates it so much. They try to figure out a way to stop these boys from dying, and they finally figure it out, and she need Ami to help with it. And that is pretty much how the book kicks off, right? But during this entire situation with the trials and everything going on at court, there's also another side of the story where there's a rebellion that is, you know, being cooked up. So, and then on top of all of this, Ami, she has a guy that she was seeing before she got sent to go be the lady's maid, you know. So Ami has a lot going on. I think that this book was a decent start to a new YA fantasy series. I think it's cool for someone who is a beginner for fantasy. I would still recommend this book for someone who is beginning their fantasy journey. However, for me, that I am where I am not, you know, starting my fantasy journey, I would say it was not super memorable. Yeah, because once I was done reading it, I couldn't remember like what was going on. While I was reading it, like, it was cool, you know. I think that the beginning of this book is much more interesting than the 50% to the end. So I don't know if the author is going to expand on this when, you know, we get into the next book, but yeah, I just wish that it was a little bit more intricate. So I picked up quite a few books that came out in February, and the first one I want to talk about is The Edge of Water by Olafunke Grace Bankole. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I absolutely loved this book. So shout out to Libro FM for the advanced listening copy for this one. I really did not know what to expect when I started playing this book, but once I began playing the audiobook, I could not stop. I absolutely love the audiobook, and let me tell you who is narrated by Nicole Cash, who is a new narrator for me. I've not heard of her, but I will be looking for her because she did a phenomenal job. So this book is set between Nigeria and New Orleans, and we have this mother and her daughters that is growing up in Nigeria, and the mother receives a prophecy basically telling her that one of her daughters should definitely not go to the United States. And she ignores it because her daughter really wants to go, and you know, she allows the daughter to go to the United States anyway. And when the daughter does, it sets off a series of events that probably shouldn't have happened because it literally said, do not send her, do not allow her to go to the US. And there was a few things that was going on before she even went to the US that was basically signs to let her know, you know, she shouldn't be going there. So when she goes to New Orleans, shortly after, there is Hurricane Katrina, and many things take place. When I tell you, there is so much going on in this book. It is about mothers and daughters and the things that we do not say to our mothers, the things that our mothers do not say to us. It's just like all of these things, all of these conversations that have not been had. So in this book, you have the mom writing to her daughter and the daughter writing to the mom, and they're saying all these things that they've never said to each other face to face. And it's just a beautiful book. Like, it really is. We're talking about them both experiencing love, heartbreak, you know, all of these things. And I just love the way this book is told. It reminded me of an Akwaeke Emezi type of feel. Everything seems a bit disjointed at first because you're not understanding at first, what does this mean? What is this? Like, at the beginning of the chapters, it starts saying things in the beginning of the chapters that you have no idea what it means until you know, right? And then you want to go back and you want to start listening to the very beginnings of the chapters. It takes a while for you to fully get it. And I know none of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense right now, but I promise you, if you are a literary fiction lover, you love a little magical realism. I hate to call it that, but just things that aren't like there's folklore in it. Like, you are cool with stuff like that. Stuff like that doesn't bother you, where it's not super concrete and it's making you think of other things and other possibilities. This is the book for you to pick up. And I personally love books that feature multi-generations of women. So, yeah. 5 stars. 5 freaking stars, okay? Okay, so another book that I read that came out in February is The Manual for Good Wives by Lola J. Now, this is my first Lola J, and it definitely will not be my last. This, first of all, it caught my eye because I want to continue reading Black British authors. So I want to continue finding them and reading them because there are some absolutely unique unique perspectives, and I want to read them. And a lot of them have been hitting. Specifically this one as well. In this book, we are following a woman named Adeline Copperfield. Only that's not actually her name. Adeline Copperfield is a woman who is a very well-to-do Victorian lady, you know, and she's a wife, and she tells people how to be a great wife. Only the person who's actually writing this is not any of those things. Not any of those things. She's a black woman, and she just knows what to say and how to say it, okay? Unfortunately, people don't really like it when you pull the wool over their eyes. So she ends up having to go on trial for pretending to be this Adeline Copperfield. Somehow, I'm not gonna say how, but somehow the cat got out the bag that it was actually a black woman that has been writing this column for, you know, for years. That is one part of this book. The parts of this book that I absolutely loved are pretty much everything that happens before this, which is this woman's story. I can't even remember the woman's real name. All the things that she went through with men. I just found her to be, like, the word that keeps coming to mind when I think of her is extremely resilient. This is a woman who people wanted to see her down. They wanted to see her down bad, okay? And she refused. She always seemed to try to figure out a way to make a situation work for her, you know? And I really enjoyed that. I love books where women have all these things stacked up against us. We like have all these things stacked up against us, and I just love reading books where there's a female main character that's just like, you know what, I see what you did there, but it's not gonna work, okay? It's not going to work because here's a drawer full, you know, like like she just seemed to just always be ready to pivot, you know. She's not gonna just take it laying down, and I love stories like this, and I think you will too. I think you will too. I think I gave this 4.5. Yeah, I think I gave this 4.5. Okay, and another book that I read that came out in February was People of Means by Nancy Johnson. Now, let's talk about this. So this is another historical fiction. Y'all, I think that this list might be like almost all historical fiction. I like what I like. I gave y'all a fantasy. I did. Oh, wait, no. There's a thriller on here. See? Haha, there's a thriller on here. Okay, so this is another historical fiction, and in this book, we're doing like a dual kind of POV timeline. We are following Frida in the 1960s, and then we are following Frida's daughter Tulip in the 1980s. Okay, I will say that I enjoyed Frida's chapters more than I enjoyed Tulip's. Tulip's voice was just okay for me. This book has a lot to do with activism, things that are going on in both the 60s and the 80s, where, first of all, it's very similar. You know, you just got two different names to mention, but it's very similar situations. In 1992, it's the Rodney King trials, right? And in the 1960s, we have, you know, Jim Crow, where, you know, black people aren't allowed to eat in certain places that they want to eat in. They're not able to do certain things that they want to do, which is literally just living life the same way that white people are living them. And, you know, there is a lot of conflicts in these two women. You know, Frida is going to college and she is being told by her parents, like, listen, you are here to do great things. Whatever's happening around you, it don't got nothing to do with you. That's not why we sent you to school. You are there to get an education and also to find a man. And we could probably help you with that. We can help you with that, okay? And they want to make sure that Frida continues to carry on this legacy of getting a good education and marrying well. That's what they care about, right? They not interested in all of this activism and what's going on. And Frida is very torn by that. And then we come to the present with her daughter Tulip, and Tulip is also very torn by that. Tulip is dating a guy who is a bus driver, and to her parents, that is very, I mean, that's good for him, but I wish you would have found somebody else. That is really kind of how they feel about the situation. And, once again, Tulip is torn because she wants to be involved in, efforts regarding the Rodney King trials and stuff like that. But she's also hearing what her parents are saying in her ear. One thing that has been bothering me, I will say this. Now, shout out to William Morrow for getting me this copy. But what I will say is this cover is a bit misleading because this cover has a boombox, bamboo earrings, you got the door knockers on there, and it made me think that this book was gonna be like very 80s type of, like, I thought Tulip was gonna have that type of vibe, and she does not have that vibe at all. Like, Tulip would have never even wore these earrings. Like, she was very much a square. Like she no, and it made me think that would be the type of vibe, and it wasn't. And it could just really just be like a me thing. It really could, but I was thinking that's what it would be. But anyway, I think I gave this 3.75. I feel like this is a solid historical fiction novel. I don't feel like it's super groundbreaking, I will say. It was fine while I was reading it, but I wasn't like blown away. I wasn't thinking about it some more after I had finished. Like, once I was done, I was done. Like, it was cool. Would I recommend it? Yeah, sure. I would. Another book that came out in February that I read is Red Clay by Charles B. Fancer. I love this book so much. I really enjoyed this book. So this book starts off in 1943. A man named Felix has just passed away. His family is all there, and now they have gone back to the house, after the funeral is over. And his granddaughter notices a white woman that is at this funeral. She don't know who this white lady is, but the white woman approaches her at the house and basically tells her that her family used to own theirs. And she knows Felix. Okay, that Felix used to be one of her family's slaves. And then the book kicks off from there. It's a wild way to start a book. And I loved it. Get my attention from the beginning. Get me tuned in. And this is what I mean when I say the historical fiction books that's flipping back and forth, stay in the back for like a hot minute. Let me forget that there's ever a present. That's how I like my historical fiction that wants to flip back and forth. Don't spend too much time in the present. And this was perfect. It spent just enough time in the present to remind us that we were listening to a story. And then it was like, okay, y'all remember? Okay, good. Now back to what we was talking about. That is what I particularly love, okay? The story that is this book is just, it's just perfect. It's just perfect, okay? I mean, there is so many secrets. So many secrets. We are finding out so much about Felix and Felix's family. This book really lets us follow this black family how this black family has stayed interwoven with this white family that owned them. We also see what happens once the war happens, once slavery is abolished. So the white woman's name in this book is called Adelaide. And Adelaide approaches this family basically like, I want to talk to y'all. I want to tell y'all about Felix. Okay? And I'm getting old and I would love for y'all to tell me some things about Felix as well. Like, let us talk about Felix together and then we can fill in the blanks for each other. Because Felix actually, when he was alive, as a grandfather, he did tell, you know, his kids and his granddaughter like certain things about his time as a slave, but it's a lot of things that he did not tell them. And Adelaide begins to fill in the blanks about Felix. This cover very much, it don't let you know what is in these pages. Like, it's just not, it needs an exclamation point on the front. Like, it needs something on the front of this book that basically tells you this is a banger. You need to read it, especially if you are someone that loves black historical fiction, multi-generational sagas. Okay, when we're talking about what's happening throughout in a family, what the father is thinking, what the son is thinking, all the things that's happening around this black family, especially spanning through time, because we are talking about slavery. Then we're going into when the Civil War is over. Then the Reconstruction era. It just continues on all the way up until today. Up until present day, with present day in this book is 1943, but all about like what this man been through in his life. One thing I'ma say is that Felix was that dude. Felix was that dude. People tried to really play on his top, and he was like, you know what, I can show you better than I can tell you. And that is pretty much all you need to know about how Felix was moving in this book. This is a story of revenge. This is a story about how some people, black and white, do not want to see you doing better than them. Okay? Some people ain't okay with you doing the same level as them, but they damn sure don't want to see you doing better than them. Okay, because then you got jealousy, and then you got, oh, you know what, I think this person think that they better than me, and I need to take them down a few notches. Yes, Felix and his parents were slaves, but they lived a little bit better than the average slave on this plantation. And Felix specifically had to deal with other enslaved people feeling some type of way about some of the privileges that they were given. And then also, obviously, the actual white people feeling some type of way about this family. How dare they try to make a better life for themselves? How dare they not just take the crumbs that was given them from the table. Literally crumbs taken from the table. There is a certain period of time where Adelaide, the white woman in this book, when she's a little girl, and she has decided that she wants to feed Felix food from her plate like he is the family dog. He was to sit behind her in a chair and wait for her to feed him her scraps from her dinner plate. So anyway, if I haven't made it clear already, 5 stars, okay? Absolutely 5 stars for this. Once again, shout out to Libro FM for the advanced listening copy. And Libro been coming through with some bangers, okay? So I did listen to the audiobook for this one, and I love the audiobook. Because guess what? Guess who narrating it? Dion freaking Graham, okay? Y'all know how I feel about Dion. As soon as I start hearing Dion, I know it's going to be a good experience. It's going to be a good experience because this man was narrating the hell out of this book. Like, he was doing an amazing job. Per usual, right? And then my birthday came around and I had to tell my mother, listen, I want this book. When she found out that I had read it already, she was not very pleased, but I needed to have this physical book in my library. The audiobook is not enough. I need to hold it up. I need to go back to it. I need to possibly do some highlighting. I wanted to hear too, so that I could definitely pull it out again and be like, y'all, remember I was telling y'all about this? Because it's not going to be the last time y'all hear me talking about this book. This book was phenomenal. Okay, so I didn't read any March releases, but I did pick up an April release that I was very much looking forward to. Let me get it. And that is 6 Days in Bombay by Alka Joshi. I'm a fan of Alka Joshi. This is the same author of The Henna Artist and The Secret Keeper of Jaipur. There's a third book in that series, but I DNF'd it, so I only mentioned the first 2 books in that series. So this is the next book this is her latest book that just came out, and I was very, very highly anticipating this book. I will say that I was a bit disappointed. I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. I was a bit disappointed in this one, and I'm gonna tell you why. This book is set in Bombay, and we meet a nurse named Sona. And Sona, one day when she's working, a very famous painter comes into the hospital. Her name is Mira, and she's a very renowned painter, in Bombay, and people know who she is. So it's a very high profile, patient. And she gets really cool with Mira, and, Mira's in there really because she ended up having a miscarriage. But for some reason, she has like some complications to where she needs to like stay in the hospital for, an extended period of time. Long story short, Sona ends up having to go on this seemingly like a quest where she is going to different places, getting stories about who she was, in piecing together all these things about this very mysterious woman, because Mira does tell her some things while she's in this hospital bed, but she don't tell her everything. Sona still got some questions in her mind as to who this woman really is. I just feel like we spent so much time with like day-to-day nurse hospital type stuff, drama with Sona's co-worker, a possible budding romance. I just wanted us to get to the part where Sona is, like, I thought most of the book would be Sona going to these different places, meeting with these people who know Mira and getting information and piecing her story together. That's what I thought it was. Because we go from, Istanbul, Prague, Florence, Paris, and London. So she's going all these different places. I felt like we should have been getting way more out of those visits, and they were just falling kind of flat for me. I didn't hear any secrets about Mira that was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, this is crazy. Like, oh, this changed the whole book for me. Like, I didn't hear anything like that had me, like, I kind of read it with just like a blank face, I think. Shout out to Nat Galley for the advanced listening audio, and also the lovely people at the Hive for providing me the book and the audio and the e-book. So I was definitely set up to absolutely finish this book, which, I'm glad that I did. I didn't hate it. I just wanted more from it. One thing that I do like is that Alka Joshi tends to write books about women that they're not exactly following the typical structure that's set up for them. Like, having to find a husband and get married so that they could be taken care of. Like, she tends to write female main characters to where they've gone a different route, you know. And I like that. I do like that. But, you know, this one was just, you know, okay for me. I think I gave it like I think either a 3 or a 3.5. And another book that came out in April, Zeal by Morgan Jerkins. Now, I already kind of gave y'all a little tidbit about how I felt about this book when I was recording the other video, anticipated reads for the second quarter. I was reading this at that time, and I told y'all that this book was fantastic then. And now that I'm done, and I am still to this day thinking about this book, thinking about the characters in this book, thinking about how everything unfolded in this book, I'm still not over this. Like, I'm still not over this. When I tell you that Morgan Jerkins put her entire foot in this book, she did. Call baby who? Because I thought that book was good, but she has shown us that she's coming harder. Like, she's coming way harder. She is cemented as, like, she is an author. Okay? Like, she is an author. She's here to write, and she's not playing with us. When it comes to historical fiction, she got it. It's a literary fiction. It's a romance. Like, it's just, oh man, this book is just amazing. Phenomenal, mesmerizing. Like, in the beginning, this is another book that I had read this year so far that literally begins once the war is over, the Civil War. Once the Civil War is over, and now it's time to emancipate the slaves, and it just shows how I'm sure things were going down back then, where the white people, like, they were upset, like furious, just looking at them like, I'm supposed to be owning you. Like, really still having that same mentality. Like, they just cannot believe that these black people was just walking around all willy-nilly. Like, they was just not feeling it. And this is what birthed the Klan. So in this book, we have a man named Harrison, and then we have Tirzah. And Harrison and Tirzah, they were lovers when they were both on the same plantation, but Harrison goes off to the war, but when he comes back, Tirzah is gone. In the entire house, they all ended up relocating, and she went with them. Harrison had no idea where she was. So this is when they have made these freedmen bureaus where you can put out these ads to try to find, you know, your family members, your long lost loves, whatever, right? To try to connect people. Harrison tries to put out an ad for this woman, but he ends up putting out an ad with a woman who wants him for herself. And one thing I will say, now I've known this, but if you read this book and you don't pick this up, shame on you. You cannot force a man to be yours that ain't meant to be yours. Okay? Pick up that tea, because that's what's in this book. If you force a man to be yours that ain't supposed to be yours, things are going to happen. Things are going to happen, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But it is a few women in this book that really upset me and my homegirls. They really did. They really did. You know, at some point you really got to stand up. You really got to stand up. If a man ain't showing you that he wants you and only you, you got to move on. You know, you can't just try to force it, you know? My battery is dying. But, and this will not be the last time y'all hear me talk about this book, but I want to tell y'all absolutely need to pick up this book. We have these two families that are interwoven together. We're talking about fate. We're talking about loving someone across time. It's just so much about this book that I absolutely love. And the next time I talk about this, I'm gonna be talking about this book again. Y'all going feel me when it comes to this book, is what I want to tell y'all. Okay, I got one more book to talk about, and that is going to be none other than King of Ashes by S.A. Cosby. Shout out to St. Martin's Press for the advanced listening copy for this. The audiobook, amazing, super dope. He uses the same narrator for all of his books. Of course, this is like a thriller. In this book, we are following a man who he gets called to go back to his childhood home because his father has been in an accident. So he goes back to the childhood home. It's bringing up all these different memories. All these different memories of his childhood. His mom was missing for a very long time, and it's bringing up those memories of that situation as well. It's just a complete tragedy, and this man has to go back to it. His father is I think his father's in a coma, but he also finds out that he has a complete mess to clean up that someone else has started. And he has to clean up this mess, and he has to fix everything for the family. He's used to fixing things, but he's used to fixing things that he can control, like money for his clients. But now he has to fix some things that have to do with actual gangsters. Okay, which is not exactly in his wheelhouse, but he is going to do what he has to do to protect his family. And when I tell you, this book is so damn good, I will say now that this is one of my favorite S.A. Cosby. It might be my favorite at this point, because this one reminded me of urban fiction. There's so many secrets. There is so much cat and mouse. Him having to stay ahead of these guys, these gangsters that literally want to kill them. Okay, they want to kill him and his entire family. Okay, so he is trying to play nice with them, but also like stay ahead of them so that they don't kill them, and they still keep him and his family safe. But he also wants to get revenge for what these gangsters have done to his family, right? And then we have all these secrets that are coming out about his own family, about things that have happened in the past that we clearly have questions about because he's having nightmares. Okay, when I tell you, this book is it's just delicious. I listened to this book while I was in Thailand. Like, any kind of breaks in between, I listened to this book, and it was exactly what I needed. This is like the perfect vacation book. I mean, people usually like romance books, but for me, when I'm on vacation, I want a thriller. I want something that's going to keep my attention and have me like, ooh, because you don't want to just listen to some degular, when you could just be enjoying your vacation some other type of way. Amazing. Phenomenal job. As per usual, I'm not shocked. I just love the route that he went with this one. The narration is perfect. It's just so good. And it comes out in June. And I know that this is going to be a book that everybody is going to be talking about. Y'all going to love it. Make sure. Now, I done told y'all last month. I told y'all back in April to make sure that this was on your pre-orders or your library hold list. So if you ain't do that back then, I don't know, y'all, you gonna be number 200 and something. if you ain't put it on the list now, you gonna be way down on the list, okay? Because this one is absolutely a goodie. Okay, I really hope that y'all have enjoyed this video. I love doing these videos where I tell y'all how I feel about these books. But as you can see, most of them have been bangers. So I am so excited to continue reading 2025 books and letting y'all know what I think about them. I'm definitely still reading backlists. definitely still doing that. Okay, so don't think that I'm on the new release train only, because I'm not. I'm dipping in, you know, I'm doing a little bit of new and a little bit of olds. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Make sure you share. Make sure you comment down below and let me know, have you read any of these? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Let's talk about it. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe for more bookish content like this, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Bye.